absolutely unbelievable. We really still can't believe it. As we come in every day, a lot of us who work in New York, who commute, see the skyline, and it's been the way it's been for so long. And you know, tomorrow we're going to come in and see it, and some of it will be gone. And that, I don't know that we're all prepared for that yet.
What's your sense of the way the emergency crews are operating at the moment? Can you tell?
I cannot actually. We are uptown, fairly far away from it, so we're just hearing reports, and you know, we're hearing all the bridges and tunnels are closed, and that they're using some of those paths to get people to various hospitals. So it's no doubt chaos, but you know, we're really not close enough to see it here.
All right, well, thank you very much, Al Prieto, for this. Al Prieto, ABC News, speaking to us from New York. He arrived in New York just after this happened. He describes the scene as he saw it and the atmosphere in New York as people evacuated buildings, rescue crews came into place. The rescue operation, of course, still in full swing there. Now, a few moments ago, we were talking to Michael O'Hurley. He is a U.S. Defense and Security.
Thank you very much for sharing your...
38 passengers, 5 flight attendants, and 2 pilots for a total of 45 people. It crashed near Pittsburgh at about 10 o'clock. Those are the details on the aircraft involved. The major devastation, though, here in New York City, where literally thousands of people are said to have been killed in the attack on the World Trade Center, with both towers crashing down. It's been almost 3 hours since the towers hit the ground. The smoke still pouring over the New York City skyline. There were reports that there was a gas leak in the area, not surprising, when those buildings toppled over, and that firefighters were having a tremendous difficulty in containing the fire caused from that and the ensuing problems in the neighboring area. We already know that one other building has toppled down from the after effects of the toppling of the 2 huge World Trade Center towers. There are reports coming from the mayor of New York City, Rudolph Giuliani, that many of the city's finest firefighters were inside the World Trade Center trying to deal with the initial problems when the buildings collapsed. A report from New York City's hospitals. Hundreds of people rushed to Manhattan hospitals to give blood, and officials called in every surgeon, every nurse to deal with victims of the attacks. Ambulances screamed up and down the major thoroughfares across the city. We're on full alert. People are covered with concrete soot and other flying objects. We're in desperate need of blood. That is the desperate call coming out of New York, and that's why you're seeing cities across this country respond. If you are able to help, please call your Canadian Blood Service office in your community and ask them if they are on top of the situation in terms of taking blood donations.
Certainly, there was that surreal nature to it, and who could ever have imagined that in the middle of the day today, Eastern Time, Canada, the United States, and all parts of the world, so many parts of the world, would be in this kind of chaos, in a sense, held hostage to terrorism, under siege, however you want to put it. The entire focus of all of North America and large parts of the world are on this story right now. In fact, let's say the entire world is focused on this story, because we've also heard this morning from the Taliban militia. Now, we have some information, I understand, coming to us from the New York Port Authority, and they will give us some estimate of what has happened there in terms of the damage and the injuries and the casualties.
That we could early on. After the first 2 crashes, when the planes hit the building, there was roughly about, I would say, what, an hour and 15 minutes between that and the point where the South Tower collapsed.
Give or take. Yeah.
How many people you were able to get out? Do you have any idea?
We don't know. We tried to do a floor-by-floor search. New York City Police, the Fire Department, Port Authority Police, best they could, tried to get everybody out. But as you know, there were people still coming out after that building came down.
Do you have any idea how many people would normally be in the building at 8:30 or north? This is the director of the
There are probably 10,000 people in each tower. 10,000 people in each tower would typically be in there on a normal business day. And we get about another 5,000 visitors during the course of the entire day. So by 8:30, 9 o'clock, the building should have been full.
The authorities from the New York Port Authority telling us there what they saw earlier this morning, how the rescue operation is going, and just what's underway right now. And we would caution that it's no one is fixating blame on anybody. No one is fixing blame on anyone at this particular stage. We just don't know yet. There can be a lot of speculation about what has gone on, but at this stage, it's just that. What we do know is what has happened this morning. We know about the attacks on the World Trade Center. We know about the attacks on the Pentagon. We know the collapses of those buildings, both in New York and in Washington. And we do know that both American Airlines and United Airlines have been severely hurt. For example, American Airlines Flight 11, a Boeing 747 en route from Boston to Los Angeles, that was the one that crashed into the World Trade Center. The plane was carrying 81 passengers, 9 flight attendants, and 2 pilots. American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757 en route from Dulles Airport near Washington to Los Angeles, crashed into the World Trade Center. The plane was carrying 58 passengers, 4 flight attendants, 2 pilots. United Airlines Flight 93, Boeing 757 crashed southeast of Pittsburgh while en route from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco. The plane was carrying 38 passengers, 2 pilots, and 5 flight attendants. And United Airlines Flight 175, a Boeing 767, the flight was bound from Boston to Los Angeles. It was carrying 56 passengers, 2 pilots, and 7 flight attendants. The airline would not say where that plane crashed, although there had been earlier speculation only, that it was in Colorado. So that is what we know. And from the pictures, we see the chaos in New York, and once in a while we're looking at the Pentagon pictures out of Washington. We're replaying these scenes of disaster for you as the rescue crews come into play. Alan Fryer is in Washington. Alan, give us an update of what's going on there.
Flights, and I don't know whether we've pointed this out before, but all 4 of these planes that were hijacked and crashed were en route to destinations in California, and that tells me is probably not a coincidence. It's a long flight from the East Coast to the West Coast, obviously, and I suspect those planes were carrying full or nearly full loads of fuel. I suspect all designed to maximize the damage.
All right.
These occurrences happen at about the same time. Clearly, there are going to be an awful lot of questions asked around the intelligence community as to who knew what, when, and whether or not there were any alerts that people missed out on, and so on. And given our proximity to the United States and past incidents of alleged terrorists going to the United States via Canada, there will be some scrutiny in terms of what it is we did or did not do in Canada, whether or not any of these people came through Canada. We can expect a lot of questions to be asked of us.
Yes, indeed. And what can Canadians do to protect themselves from this kind of thing in the future? Indeed, people have said that it's very difficult to protect against one person who has a mission to bring down a plane and crash it into a building and prepared to take his own life or her life in the process. How do you protect yourself against this kind of thing?
Well, I guess the bottom line, it's impossible to protect yourself totally from a dedicated terrorist who's prepared to give up his life for his cause. I think that we will see stories unfold as the information comes in that people would have noticed things, they would have had their suspicions, and so on, and perhaps failed to report them, or they reported and they weren't recognized. It's really, safety of this nature is everybody's business. A lot of us at the airports, for example, complain about the security that we have to go through there. Now we understand fully what can happen if the security is not at its best. And one of the difficulties in the whole security screen is it'll be heightened around an incident, and as time passes, people's guards go down and we start to fall into old practices. The difficulty in anyone whose objective it is to protect us, protect things like airlines, is to keep a heightened level of security throughout their working life.
Well, on a day like this, most people are saying, go ahead, search me at airports, put on the heavy security. We now know, it's been graphically presented to us, just how dangerous the world can be at certain times. So do you sense that people will now be a little more relaxed about having heavy security at airports, at government buildings, and elsewhere?
I think you're right, Lloyd, that a lot of us have come to accept that this is just part of modern travel, and we accept it. I think the difficulty will be for security staff to make sure that their concerns and their vigilance at ports of entry is maintained at a high alert level. I think that this incident, as horrific as it is, I can't think of words to describe the horror that we've all witnessed. It will be a lesson to us all, and it's a lesson to the free world. And I think that all of us will find it in our hearts to support the American people in terms of what it is they feel they have to do to get to the bottom of this.
Mr. Inkster, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for joining us, and we may be talking to you a little later as this day continues to unfold, and this story continues to unfold. Now, for those of you who are tuning in and out of this, and we imagine that's a lot of people today, I'd like to run through once again, with the support of some graphics this time, just what we know about those airliners that flew into the buildings in New York and Washington this morning. Here they are, American Airlines Flight 11, Boston to Los Angeles. That is the one that crashed into the World Trade Center, plane carrying 81 passengers, 9 flight attendants, and 2 pilots. And then American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757 en route from Dulles, near Washington, to Los Angeles, crashed into the World Trade Center. The plane was carrying 58 passengers, 4 flight attendants, 2 pilots. And United Airlines Flight 93, Newark to San Francisco, crashed in Pittsburgh while en route from New York, New Jersey to San Francisco. Plane carrying 38 passengers, 2 pilots, and 5 flight attendants. And United Airlines Flight 175, a Boeing 767. The flight was bound from Boston to Los Angeles. It was carrying 56 passengers, 2 pilots, 7 flight attendants, and the airline would not say just where that plane crashed. Although, as I noted earlier, there was speculation that that had crashed in Colorado. So the death toll mounts. It's incredible, this story. The whole world has been captured by it this morning. Incredible is a much overused word that's almost a cliche when it comes to this, because the magnitude is truly horrible. Dave Harris, who is a security expert, another security expert, is in Ottawa, and I guess we have some communication with Ottawa now, even though our building has been evacuated. Mr. Harris, thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Yeah, hello, Lloyd.
Now, you are a security expert. You'll have to tell me just what...
He heads up Emergency Measures Ontario, and he will answer any specific questions that you may have now, and he will lead Ontario's response. James?
Thank you. Thank you, Premier.
Okay.
Are there any questions that ladies and gentlemen have?
Dr. Young, what specific things provincial officials